Okay, we're almost set up. Adine, can you give Viserio perms for talking in the channel, please?
Hello,
Ah,
hello.
you're here.
I work.
It works. All
I've been
right.
muzzled for too long.
We'll give it a few more minutes here for people to filter in, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
You're making a bot of this, right?
Yes, I have it set up.
Okay.
We just missed the last workshop. The Twitch wasn't set up, but it's already. I'm like, yeah, it's
Unlucky.
already there on the Twitch. Yeah, it just means I gotta go re-record how to customize bigwigs and then post that as the VOD, which is fine. This one's good though.
This is fine. It's always
yeah.
great having to do it twice.
Oh yeah, it's always
Yeah.
better the second time, you know.
Yeah.
Supposedly. Yeah. All right, we will go ahead and get started here. So today for cleaning up your UI, the workshop is going to be focused around Viserio Sheets and how to use them. And before people get scared and go, oh, that's a healer thing and leave, it's not. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you can use them not just as healers and raid leaders, but also as individual DPS tanks, any role that you need reminders for, basically, is going to be what this is helpful for. And you guys don't get to listen to me talk forever today because we actually have Viserio himself here, which is amazing.
Hello.
So he's going to pretty much take over and talk about all of these super fun things that you can do with his sheets.
Okay. Well, hello. Thanks for having me around.
Thanks for
Yeah, I'm gonna
coming.
be talking about spreadsheets, and how we can use those to make terrifyingly long notes. If you've been following like this UI workshop, you'll know this is a great UI. Cover your entire screen in notes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the idea is that we have a spreadsheet which has fights mapped out, and we can then map out what to cast and when. But we're gonna start simplifying it a little bit, and then we'll work up to it. So I think first I'm gonna just link the Discord. It might be nice to like follow along with your own copy of the sheet. So I'll link in the Twitch chat, and I will link in the UI workshop chat, Discord. And I'll just give you 1 second to go and open that. So if you go into the Discord, which is here, hello. There's a spreadsheet channel, and then there's some links to the different spreadsheets. The one we're gonna care about is the Mythic Healing Assignments. So you're gonna go ahead and click that, and you're gonna get to this. I know spreadsheets are scary, but we're gonna hopefully make it a little less scary as we go along.
These are awesome.
Yeah, but to start with, there's a Make a Copy Here button in the middle of the screen. You click it, and then you say Make a Copy. And then it takes a second, and you get your very own copy to sit and edit in. And I've done the private home, so I don't need that one. But yeah, the spreadsheet consists of a few parts. There's the setup page, where you can input your roster. That'll make sense in a minute. And then you have a page for each boss, where I have made a lot of timers for you that you can then look at and map things out. First, I'm just gonna show like the very basics of the sheet. And then I'm gonna show an example with some how you can map out an entire fight. But this is gonna be like the very fundamentals of the sheet. So a page looks like this, where you have I should take these colors off. Just a second. It's a bit too rainbowy.
Rainbowy is the
Okay.
best kind.
I've been working with colors for the next sheet. Just give it a second to load here. Okay. So you have this setup here, which is, let's zoom in a bit. You have on the top left, you have this red box. We're gonna load that, and that's gonna have your MRT node. Then you have a setup for the bus, which is pulled from the setup tab, which is this tab here. And then you have like some other stuff here. This is not super important. You can hover over them, and they will like tell you a bit about what they are, toggle them on and off. And then you have like the actual boss section down here, which will have boss abilities on the left, and they will have timers. And then we have this entire section to map out what we want. So what we can see here is just a quick example where I've assigned Viserio to cast Evangelism 10 seconds into the fight. I've assigned him to cast Shadow Covenant 26 seconds into the fight. And then I have assigned him to go to Crossmark. And I've assigned that he's very cute. So once you've made your assignments, we can click Load MRT. It'll just take a second, turn green. And then we have what we can put into the game. There we go. So this add-on here is Method Rate Tools. You will need to have that. But yeah, you open up Method Rate Tools with /MRT. And then you go to Notes. And then you just paste that straight in there and click Send. And we're just going to make it a little bit bigger so you can see the stream. Font size. There we go. Put background on. Okay. So now we have the assignments in here that we saw in the spreadsheets with the evangelism, a couple of text warnings, and Shadow Covenant. The third part of all of this is the weak hours. Because reading this in combat is like a bit much, because then you're just going to spend the entire boss fight reading. So we have outsourced it to a WeGar. You have two options. You have like the case ERT timers or the liquid Viserio MRT reminders. They functionally do the same. But they're both linked in the Discord, and you can just pick whichever one you want. And they will literally call out the node for us. So anything that is assigned to me will be called out by the WeGar. And we'll just start out by just running into the bus, and you will see what happens. I hope I've said
In 8 seconds evangelism.
Yeah. So I need to evangelism in 3, 2, 1. Evenge.
In 8 seconds go to red mark.
We're gonna pretend there's a red mark over here.
In 8 seconds Viserio is.
In 8 seconds Shadow Covenant.
3, 2, 1.
So it calls out a whole bunch of stuff. And it even has like the text-to-speech function of WeGars, where it will read up what it says. But the WeGars have all like, they're customizable. You can disable the text-to-speech if you want. It's in the custom options of one of the WeGars, and it's in actions on the other WeGar. It's not too hard to customize, but yeah, custom options. That's what happens. So that's like the simplified version of this. Okay, yeah, I was just in the custom options. Yeah, it's in here. You asking like where you can set the seconds. So you can also like say how early is this supposed to remind me. So we have our icons, which is the cooldown assignments, like the Evangelism and Shadow Covenant. I've just set that to like, I want to be reminded 30 seconds before this happens. So the WeGar pops up nice and early, because I'm a Disc Priest and I want to plan far ahead. And then I have like the other tech reminders. I've just set that to 8 seconds here in the custom options again. You can choose to have text-to-speech to both of them, or you can choose to have text-to-speech to just one of them. In case you don't want to hear it say evangelism every time, but you only want to hear it read up text warnings. Or the other way around. But do I have text-to-speech on both of these? I probably do right now. Yeah, I don't want to read both of my WeGars. Only get one of the WeGars. Just pick one and go with it. Otherwise, it gets a bit much. So,
like having a bunch of things saying the same thing in your ear.
Yeah, the two WeGars doing the same thing is bad UI. Don't do it. Right. So this is this large enough to read on stream? Or do I need to zoom more? I don't know how screens work. This is too much. Okay, this is good. Right.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna jump into a different example. This is the Sakurath example, and all of these are like built up by me. So I have already made all the timers you pretty much need in game. Where I've taken like the most important boss events, at least for healers, and I've already plugged them in and made them in a way so they just work. You don't need to like push the boss at specific times. Like the sheet it's sort of built up like a WeGar, so it's intelligent and will trigger at the correct times. So these timers just work. I will show how you can like add your own timers if you want more timers or different timers. And I'll also show how you can add your own cooldowns. Because I haven't put every spell in the game into the sheet. I put like healing cooldowns and personals, some immunities, some other stuff, but I haven't put everything in. So if you're a warlock who want to map out your... I know 0 warlock spells, this was a bad example. If you're mage who want to map out... yeah, right, your personal port. If you want to map that out and get a icon warning for that, you can pretty easily just add it to the sheet and make reminders for yourself. So basically what this is like a little voice inside your head telling you to do things, except you can make it say things you want to hear. So you can make it say Viserio is cute. Ooh, yeah. Or like useful stuff if you want that, I guess.
Useful stuff's overrated.
Yeah. So I'm gonna close it. There we go. So this is an example where I've just set it up for myself as a disc priest. I've mapped out, like I've micromanaged this more than a raid leader would do for you. Where usually you would only have like your evangelism assigned, or yeah, you would have evangelism and barrier assigned. But for me, I've like gone an extra step ahead, and I've just assigned like radiances, master spells, shadow covenants, some very specific notes that I want that like other people don't care about. But I've gone ahead and like micromanaged my entire fight here. And that just means that I will have these icons pop up throughout the fight. And it's very easy to stay on track on like your 300th pull of Sagrath. Because it can be easy to sometimes just lose track of time. But you can also, and this is what I would expect most Mythic raid teams do, you map out for your entire team instead of just yourself. And then it looks something like this instead, which is a bit more. I think there's 250 assignments on this example, where you just have like a name and ability assigned, and that's just this pattern that goes for the entire thing. We also have like a ton of text warnings, so our raid leader can like go in and say, okay, our mage keeps forgetting to go down, so he can have haste for his healing or for his combust afterwards. So I'm just gonna go into the sheet, gonna make a custom timer, and I'm gonna tell Dapsy to go down. I'm gonna tell Splatlag to remember to place your gateway, please. And that way you can like, as a raid leader, you can take a load off your back and just create a consistent call for specific people. And we have like a ton of these because there's just so much small timer stuff for Sagrath where it's nice to have these reminders. So we have everything from all the healing cooldowns assigned. We have like raws because boomkins, they're not known for being intelligent. They forget when to click some stampeding raw. So we have all the stampeding raws assigned, which means that every player in the raid suddenly has like consistent movement. And then it also becomes beautiful. Like this is like the sheet music for an orchestra, right? And you don't have to make it this extreme, but this is about as extreme an example as you get. On top of that, it can be a bit hard to remember, okay, when are all the abilities ready again? Like I assign a barrier. When is barrier ready again? Well, we have the section out on the right here, where you can see all the available cooldowns for your setup, and you can see which abilities they have ready. And then whenever like Evangelism is cast, it will put a timer on it that counts down until it's ready. And then it's gonna show an icon. It can show an icon when the ability is ready again. And that way you know you're not mapping things out to be used too early. Or you're not just sitting and holding cooldowns for too long. And it basically allows you to completely optimize your raid cooldowns. I don't know if I have an updated example here. But it looks very nice when like every cooldown is assigned and nothing is being held for very long. Like, yeah, but obviously I don't have a good example here. Come on, give me one. Yeah, okay, you can see it's nice when all the cooldowns are just being used.
before we get into this, we do have a question. Time is Lost wants to know if it's easy to add more lines, not necessarily like timer lines, but the left to right ones, say.
Almost,
out
yeah.
of
So
space.
columns, yeah.
Columns, yeah. There we go.
Columns and rows. This is a spreadsheet. There is what you can see here, and then up in the top right on the AR column here, there's a little plus with a few extra. Adding more than this is super cursed, so just don't even try. But there is a hack. You can just do like, I'll add one new row above this. Like, you're allowed to add rows, like I do here. Right click and insert one row. This is perfectly fine. Right clicking on a column and say add a new column is very bad. Everything will break. I made that sound more terrifying than it was. But if you need, like, if you just for some reason is in a scenario where you need more than 10 cooldowns in a single second, God help you, then you just add a new row and you just have 2 rows for the same event. So that will be my hack for it. And I guess we can show how we add a timer while we're at it. So I just right click above breath here and said add a new row, and then I get a new row. Then all the like timer settings are hidden away because you don't usually need to look at this. But in the top of the D column, there's a plus. If we click on this, a whole lot of scary things open up. This is where the timers are made. We don't care about very much of this, but we can start by saying give the ability a name, breath 2. This is like an arbitrary name for the boss ability. We can choose to give it a color. Let's call it Cornflower. I don't know what color that is. Who picked these names? It was me. And then if we scroll up to the top, we can see there are like some descriptions of the columns. What we care about is these 4. So we were at breath 2. Where was it? Hello? There. What we care about is the dynamic timer, which is basically the yellow number we see here that counts down when we enter combat. I'm just going to show. So this number here that counts down, that is the dynamic timer.
Evangelism.
Oh no, the voice lines.
3,
I'm just going to
2,
run away so
1.
it stops. Good. That is this number. So that's the important number. So for our breath 2, we're just going to copy 28. And then this timer will work. Like, that's all the work you needed to do. The complicated part is when you enter a phase. Like on Zagreth, you can enter phase 2 faster if you have like a ton of DPS. Which obviously means if we make a timer for 3 minutes into the fight, that timer won't be accurate if you push too fast. The way we hacked our way around this is that we basically reset the timer in a new phase, and then we define when the phase starts. This looks worse than it is. You can just copy whatever I did. So like we have phase 2 start here. Yeah, so phase 2, we have set it to start at spell aura removed, and then this spell ID. So you just want to find the time from this cast until whatever you want a timer for. And then you can add timers for the next phases. Usually the easiest way is just to find one of the events that are already in here. Like say you knock the spell. I know I want a timer 5 seconds after that. I just insert a row below. I want to say dance. And then you just copy here. You just copy whatever I did and add 5 seconds. Because then you don't have to go into logs and try and work your way around a ton of things. I noticed here the timer I put in was actually not in chronological order. You can see it's putting a red warning here just to remind me. That's not actually an issue. It will still work just fine. But we can just drag it down and drag it down one more. And then it will be in chronological order again, and it will stop complaining. But it will work even if it's not in order. All these things out here, you don't need to fill out yourself. It's just that when I fill it out, I have 2 selections for names. So you can see I have like AoE 8 seconds. That's obviously not the name of the ability. I've just added some simplified names, but we can take them off and get the actual names of the abilities. If we give it a second, so you can see a Glittering Surge and Scorching Bombs. You can even hover over them. You'll get a Wowhead link. So you can go read more about an ability if you're not sure what it is. But the simplified abilities here are just a little easier at a glance to know what things are. Like a knock dispel and a knock debuff is a bit more descriptive than both of them are called Infinite Duress. Right, so you're asking about how to add text. Yeah, so the sheet has, when you assign an ability, there's like a drop-down menu. And if we write in it, we can see like Evangelism. Basically, anything not in that list will be treated as a text warning. So you just write whatever you want to write here. I can write met void girl 2 to go to Bismarck. I just write this, and then it will work as a text warning. And then obviously you assign a person that you want this to be relevant to. And if you click the names here, you can see there are actually some bonus tags. Like we can assign everyone, and it will literally warn everyone in the raid who has the Uyghur to do this thing. There's also like group numbers. You can assign all damage dealers, all healers, all tanks. Just in case you want like some more generic warnings than just Viserio. But yeah, the text warning thing here is incredibly useful, especially with like text to speech. You can basically just bench your raid leader, tell them to go, I don't know, do something raid leaders do outside the game, look at logs, and then you can have the spreadsheet call everything. It just takes a little while to set up. But yeah, you can see that that's basically what we've disclaimer, small disclaimer, it will throw a warning. You just pretend the warning doesn't exist. Because it's not actually a warning. It's just saying that whatever you wrote isn't part of the drop-down list. Which is true. Yeah, so writing spatial paradox on X person, yeah. If you wrote this spatial paradox on Viserio, then this would be a text warning, where writing spatial paradox, just the name here, would be an ability. So these two would differ also in that they would show up in different displays. So one of them would show up as an icon, and one of them would show up as a text warning. The case Uyghur actually has like a... The case Uyghur has... So you can add the... You can throw like add unit name at the end. So we can do spatial paradox on add Viserio, like this. What? That was my email. Okay. Weird. I guess we're just leaking my email now. Yeah, you can write spatial paradox on add Viserio, and then it will actually rate frame glow the person. I've never tried this actually. Let's do that. I'm curious. Now I hope it works. Is this how it works? Here we go. Did I need to be sure I did this right. Text, cross, red. Yeah, sure. This will work maybe. Supposedly this should make my rate frame low. If I
In
did it
8
right.
seconds, evangelism.
Oh no, this sounds... Yeah, this is for the
3,
case we go only.
2, 1.
And of course
In
I put
8
it like
seconds,
late in
go
the
to red
fight, so
mark.
now we're just sitting and waiting. I want to see a rate
In
frame
8
though.
seconds,
It actually
Viserio
glows.
Viserio is.
In 8 seconds,
Okay,
shadow
that's super
covenant.
useful. Yeah, this is for the case we got. So basically, you just add an ad. You add an ad in front of the name, and then it will rate frame low. Super useful. I should maybe use this. The liquid WeGar doesn't have that. Basically, the WeGars are the same, with the exception of like these niche stuff, like this. But they both have text warnings. They both have text to speech. They both work with like the default output of the spreadsheet. So yeah, you don't need to like have everyone of the raid team just use one WeGar. You can have them use whichever one they prefer. It will work all the same. But people do need to have the WeGar and MRT for it to work for them individually. Yeah. So now we've shown how to add timers. So let's pretend we are like, I don't know other classes. We're gonna go to the cooldown tab. And this is the wrong sheet. We're gonna go to this cooldown tab. Here you can see the list of all the abilities that are in the sheet right now. If I add any new abilities, there is an update cooldowns button up to the right here. You can click that and it will pull the abilities from my sheet again, and you will have an updated list. But it's basically not ever necessary. It will give a warning here as well, telling you if I have added something new and what it is, so you can like judge if you want to update your list. But say we want to add a new paladin ability. You can just insert a new row, just like we did on the healing sheet. And then we want to fill out these columns. We want to fill out all of them. The class color, we just copy from the other paladin because that's the same. The cooldown, let's say that's 1 minute and 34 seconds. So you just basically copy from the other ones, and then you can do this. The type here, there are some suggestions here, but you can also make your own. What these are is the filter of abilities that show up here. So we can actually have it show all of like personals, we can have it show health pots, external defensives, and mobility. And then we get quite a long list of abilities. Loading. Yeah. So you can have it show different like sections of ability there. But we can also make our own. So if we say Paladin, and we only enable that one, then we'll show nothing because there's no Paladin on the setup. Paladin. With this name. It's in on all bosses. There we go. So we're gonna now give this the Paladin tag that we just made. If you want it to like have a link when you hover above it, like this, so you can read about the ability, then you fill out these, this one. If you don't, then you ignore it. But to get the icon, we do need to go to the wildhead. And we want to find a paladin ability. I don't know paladins. Do they have spells? Rotation. We want to add Light's Hammer. So we find Light's Hammer. We click the icon and we click original. And then we get a URL for a picture that we can put in here. And that was Light's Hammer. We want to select the spec that can cast this ability. So for this, it's Paladin Holy. And to make the icon, you just copy one of the other icons into this one, and it will magically become the correct icon. And finally, we need the spell ID out here. We can find that in Wowhead. It will always be in the URL of an ability. And then we're just going to put it in the same format as the other ones. Like this. And now we've added Light's Hammer. It doesn't take very long if you don't have to talk your way through it. Now we can see we have a Paladin section who has Light's Hammer. And we can add, I don't know his name. His name just, and we can now assign his Light's Hammer. That means that even if you're not like a healer spec, you can actually go in and just add a ton of DPS cooldowns, and you can sit and map out your entire fight like this. Only the fantasy is your limit or something. Yeah. Close. Okay. What did I miss saying? If you break something in the sheet, usually you can just click this fix formatting button up here, and it will just magically fix it. It just does a ton of things that fixes things. If that doesn't work, then you go and ask in the Discord. There's a support channel. I'm pretty fast at responding. But most things can just be fixed with this, and other than that, it is fairly unbreakable. But I mean, if you give it a good shot, I'm sure you can break it. I'm actually gonna delete this again. Yeah. There's also like some other features. If you're on a boss with the phases, I have like some phase timers up here. If you edit them, then the timers for the entire fight will be like adapted to be accurate. So if you know you push Sarkareth at like 1 minute instead of 140, then you can just change these timers. This will not impact the timers in-game. The timers in-game will always work. It will just impact like the timers you plan for. Which is nice when you're planning a ton of things. Like this. There's also like, gonna refresh page. Once in a while, I make changes to these tabs, especially at the start of a tier. And then you can see in the top left, you can see that there's like a version number, and it will give you a warning if it's out of date, like this. Yeah, if it's out of date, it will go red, and it will tell you that maybe you should go update, like this. And then we'll tell you like what the changes have been. So you can just say, okay, I don't care. So you just don't update it. And that's fine as well. But the way you update it when the time is you just go to the My Spreadsheet on the Discord. You just right click the tab you want, click copy to existing spreadsheet, and then you just write the spreadsheet you want to copy it to. And then it will magically show up at the end of your list here. I hope I picked the right one. Yeah, there you go. Now I have a new Sarkareth one with Light's Hammer. I think that's all the main features. Yeah. Yeah, I think I ranted my way through it. And then it just works. Actually, yeah, last thing. Once you have this monstrosity of a node, just gonna let this load the MRT node. Yeah, once you get like a massive node like this, it gets a little intrusive, and that is bad UI. Like this. There are some settings to make it a little more pretty. You can go into the settings of MRT, node settings, And then in the bottom here, there are a couple of good options, like hide timers that don't have my name. I'm assigned to a lot of stuff on this one, though. So I'm also going to enable this one, completely hide limes with past timers, which means once an event here happens, disappears, and the other timers jump up, which means I only have to show the top few rows, and then I don't have to care about the rest, because it will go up once the time is. So you can clean up your UI a little bit, like that. Now it's beautiful. And then you're ready for raiding. And that was it.
Does anyone have any additional questions about the sheet, or how to set it up, or how to get it in game?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like actually making a good healer node, like this, it's a ton about knowing the individual classes and how to properly use their healing cooldowns. I suggest just going into the Discord and see how other people do it, because that's like a whole different topic for every single class. To us, like make a good healing node. Yeah, the Discord does have a lot of extra information and guides and other stuff, especially at the start of a new tier.
Alright, I'm gonna show just one more thing, and this is
Do it.
basically my take on this. So what I have done with these, because I am not a raid leader, I am also not a healer, and so it is really easy for someone who's like a DPS who doesn't deal with anyone else's stuff to just go, oh, this doesn't apply to me, I don't need this, I like don't have to worry about it. But it still is really helpful for a lot of things. So what I have pulled up on stream right now is my note. Ignore that it's out of date. I don't update it. I'm sorry.
You can just
but
set the current 2.03. We'll stop complaining.
oh, let's go.
Big hack.
It's fine. Oh, big hack. Let's go. And so what I did here is in setup, I have the rest of my raid because I was helping with a note earlier, but I just put all of my characters that I play in raid, so my evoker, my rogue, and my monk, as like that's the roster, that's who's in on these fights, and then I have all of my personals planned out for each of those different classes, and I just have this note that I can then go into WoW here, and I have like Rashok Mythic Personals as a note that I have saved, and it has all of my cooldowns for each of my characters that I can then just set as a personal note, and my reminders come up, and it doesn't have to be like a raid leader that goes in and schedules things for you. It doesn't have to be your healing lead who goes in and tells you when to press buttons. Like, you can go in on your own, and it's very easy with like the cooldown timing telling you when things are back up to go in and plan defensives or damage cooldowns or anything else that could be helpful that you don't want to think about in the moment.
So like to add to that, in MRT, there is two notes. There's like the shared note between you and your raid, and then there's like a personal note below it. The weak house will read both unless you tell it to specifically ignore one of the other. So you can have like both the raid leader note and your own note with personals, and both will work at the same time.
So like on here I have my raid note from Magmarax that's like talking about the spittles and stuff, and then underneath is that personal note, and it is super helpful. Yep.
It's actually a very clean thing to do. We met different elves. I know like our Death Knight does it for AMC and AMS.
Yeah, I just like
super nice to min-max too.
If it doesn't remind me, I'm not gonna press like especially coming from like a rogue who has feint and presses that for everything to a monk who has like 17 different defensive cooldowns, it's like I'll just forget to press diffuse
Yeah.
because I pressed the other ones, but by having it in the note and reminding, I know I'm at least going to use it at a time that it's going to be helpful.
And I don't want to dive too much into like when to assign what, but there are some good resources for like finding the meta timers for abilities. So if you don't know when to assign stuff, there's the website lorks.io, where you can go in, select your spec, and select the fight, and then you can see when people cast different abilities. It's super helpful. You just have to remember this is like only the top 50 larks. So sometimes the push timers are different or something, but you can like go in and see, okay, everyone pops personals at 130 and 040, and very quickly get some inspiration there. Or you can go in as a DK and see, okay, so this is obviously when you click AMS. And it should be pretty easy to just look at this and then find the corresponding timer in the spreadsheet. But this is a good site too.
I'm a big fan of this one.
Oh, they all get PI. Surprise. I like that it tracks PI for Death Knights. Depressing. Yeah, that
It's like
lorks.io.
that.
It do be like that. But yeah, there are other small hidden features here and there in the sheet, but they're usually like, if you need it, you'll probably find it. Or you'll go ask me and I'll tell you where it is. But other than that, like these were definitely all the main features. Oh yeah, there's the homepage. This is actually nice if you're like you just have your personals. You can have the homepage here. You can just load all your notes. So you just have them set up here. So you just load them all before raid, and then you can go in and copy them once you get to the boss. Instead of having whatever chaos it was you had with 10 different. Yeah,
Don't.
no offense.
Okay, so the reasoning behind that is because I save every note
Oh.
that's sent to me because I've had a lot of raid leaders who lose their notes, and so I can at least
Oh,
go,
yeah.
okay, here's the one we used last week.
Okay, relatable. I'm free here. Go away. Yeah, now it's beautiful. Clean UI.
In 1 seconds evangelism.
In 5 seconds
won.
gateway.
We did win with that. If no one has any questions, comments, or concerns, I think we can start wrapping up. That was super helpful, Viserio, and I appreciate you coming on and talking.
I
It was a lot
appreciate
of
you
really
making
good
a box so I
information.
can link it in my FAQ.
There we go.
That's why I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate everyone for coming up, showing up. Hopefully, you got some really cool information. And you get to go home and make a note so that you don't have to think about things in raid anymore. With that, I am gonna send you guys over to MZ, Liquid Healer Aficionado, since she's awesome and part of the LWIW community and has done a lot of awesome things with us. So, toodaloo, friends.
Toodaloo.